Hello YouTube, it is Raphael here from XX Raphael Productions, and I'm going to be showing you how to set up Kali Linux as your everyday driver or your everyday operating system, okay? So here I have a Kali live ISO file for VirtualBox. Basically, this is assuming that you have a fresh install of Kali, and I actually recommend you start from a fresh install, but I think that if you already have if you're using Kali for a while, you can just continue anyway, but it's basically just to avoid any package conflicts, okay, when we first set it up. And the best way to do that is from fresh install. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and boot into the live session. Now, don't be alarmed, I'm using the live session for this, but if you are on Kali as your main OS, everything will still apply regardless. Okay, so wait for that to boot up. You'll get the beautiful Kali Dragon logo, so wait for it. And yeah, it should pop these messages up, don't worry about them. It's basically what's going on behind the scenes, behind the graphical user interface. Now, let's go ahead and wait, let's go ahead and open a terminal once this finishes loading. Alright, so let's see, the desktop is taking a while to load, but so I'm on a virtual machine, so it might be a little slow at times. Alright, here we go. So I'm using the XFCE desktop for this Kali Linux. If you're using GNOME or KDE, whatever you chose in your installation file, then just don't worry about it because everything will still work really. But let's go ahead and open up your terminal, and I'm gonna go and actually I want to also change this terminal to a better color. Let's do green on black because I think it works better on the eyes. All right. So let's go ahead and set a root password. I'm gonna go sudo su. And if you have a user account set up already, this is actually one thing I want to say. So, in the past versions of Kali, basically, you were immediately given a root password instead of setting up your own user account. This is actually discouraged because back then, if you are, well, actually this applies even now actually, using root all the time is not recommended due to security concerns. So, it is a good thing that the Kali developers in 2021, I think it was late 2020 when they implemented this, the installer file would actually let you worry about setting up a user account instead of immediately jumping to the root account. So this is why we had to do this. We're going to set ourselves a root password to do PASSWD space ROOT for root. And now we can enter in a password. Retype that out. And don't worry if nothing shows up, it is still logging whatever you type. To confirm that it's working, I'm going to exit out of my root account and do SU by itself. Now if I enter in the root password I set, it should be able to work like this. Now, you may be wondering why I didn't get any authentication the first time. Well, that is simply because my live session of Kali, I haven't set a password for this user account, so I'm able to go to root without being authenticated. Now, obviously, if you have set this up as your main OS, you definitely will have been prompted to set yourself a password. Okay? So now that we've got the root account set up, let's go and install an Office suite. So I'm going to choose LibreOffice for this. Okay, so do apt install LibreOffice. I'm going to enter that. And now it will give you a whole list of packages, okay? So basically this is just all the packages that Kali wants to install. So I'm going to go ahead and select Y because we want to install that. And while this is loading up, let's go ahead and actually get straight to metasploit. Now, metasploit in new installations of Kali, I'm going to open a new window for this. Let's go ahead and go root, so I'm going to do that. And let's go ahead and load up metasploit. So do msf console. You can also go ahead and load up metasploit by going to the the menu, start menu, and typing in metasploit. And you should get a metasploit framework desktop shortcut right here. Okay. Well, no, I should say you should get a Linux launcher in the menu. Okay. So don't worry about that right now because this should yield the same result. To do msf console. And what I want to show you is the database, which if you have a fresh install of Kali, you might not have this set up yet initially. So wait for it to load up. It should say starting the Metasploit framework console. It can take a bit of a while. Okay, here we go. So starting the Metasploit framework console, it should be faster usually, but I guess in my case I'm doing 2 processes, so it might take a little longer. But it should load up in a couple more seconds. Alright, here we go. So every time you load up Metasploit, it will give you like a weird message on top. Don't worry about that for now. Just go ahead and type in db underscore double underscore status. And now you should notice it says PostgreSQL selected, no connection. Do not worry about this because it's easy to fix and we only need to simply run one command, okay? So I'm going to do exit and I'm going to do Armitage. Armitage is basically a graphical user interface of Metasploit. So I'm going to enter that right now. Oh, actually, it says command Armitage is not found, but can be installed with. Now, if your Kali is your main operating system, you don't actually need to run this command. But since I am using the live session of Kali right here, it is not pre-installed, unlike how it is if you install it as your main OS. If your Kali is your main operating system already, this should already be pre-installed. So this is simply for the people that have not had it installed yet. But before we actually run this though, we have to make sure that this initial process finishes. So let's go ahead and make sure that finishes first. Right, we're at around 99%. Like I said, depending on your internet connection, this can take a bit. Simply wait for that to finish. And I will be right back once this is done. Okay, and it took me like a couple more minutes and it finished installing everything. So to confirm that the LibreOffice suite has finished, just type in LibreOffice right here. And you should see LibreOffice Impress, LibreOffice Draw, Calc, Base, Writer. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open the LibreOffice Writer because this is basically like Microsoft Word or Google Docs version. So let's go ahead and do that. And now you can see, we can type whatever you want. But this is very important because Kali doesn't come with this pre-installed. And like I said before, the reason why a lot of these features are missing. Let me go ahead and actually install Armitage first before I talk. So the reason why a lot of these are missing is because Kali is meant for one specific purpose. It is meant for penetration testing and ethical hackers, okay? So they have focused mostly on the penetration testing tools like the information gathering section, password attacks, wireless attacks, etc. It's like you can see, it has already tools like aircrack-new generation, for example. But we're not going to be worried about this because these are for that is what Kali is built for. But it used to be not recommended as your main operating system because of how a lot of these, basically Debian was stripped of a lot of its packages to simply focus on this purpose. But because, you know, Kali is based off Debian, so yeah, it's basically why I'm saying that it's a stripped down Debian. So the good thing is that Kali has become more user-friendly, I guess you could say, in 2021, where the installer makes you set up your own user accounts so you don't have to worry about doing that anymore. Because, like I said before, operating as root account is, I guess you could say, harmful for your security. So that's why we've got that down. And let's go ahead and, since we've got Armitage now installed, let's go ahead and run Armitage, alright? So we've got the Office suite down, and that is if you're working in cybersecurity, or even like, let's say, me personally, I'm a 17-year-old student and I bring my Dell laptop to school like pretty much every day, and I have Kali as my main OS. I also would definitely need Kali for cybersecurity. I will get into Ubuntu with Katoon, and you can install these penetration testing tools in other distributions, but I'll get into that later. So if you're also in other classes that don't require like security tools, well, you definitely want an Office suite for sure in order to like do your schoolwork, or let's say you're in Office, for example. But let's go ahead and connect, leave the settings the way it is. Let's go and start our Metasploit. So like I said before, Armitage is just Metasploit with a graphical user interface. Now you might run into an error the first time, like I said, and we'll get into that command to fix that. So it will say, I cannot find a database.yml file. So we're going to click OK, And the command we gotta run is simply msfdb space init, and this should initialize the metasploit framework database. I'm sorry, initialize the metasploit framework database. Alright, so I'm gonna enter that and do start. It will say starting database, and hopefully this will complete without any errors or any error messages. And the next thing I'm gonna do, once there's no error messages, is to start our PostgreSQL service. Again, hopefully that gives you no error messages. And now we can run msf console one more time. It's just to confirm that it's working. And once you've got this down, you're halfway done. We only need to install a few more things before we are finished with setting it up. Now do db underscore status, db underscore status, and now it should say connected to MSF connection type. Unlike the last time where when we open up Metasploit, let me go and scroll back up. If you recall, it said no connection. Now if we go back down, it says connection type. So now we've confirmed it's working. And the same thing should happen with arm attach. It should work now that we've got that initialized as well. So to connect, like I said before, leave it the way it is. Leave all settings the way they are. And it should open up in like a couple seconds. There you go. So like I said earlier, Armitage is Armitage is a Metasploit graphical user interface. So all the payloads you want access, or all the exploits, you can also access them in the terminal. But for people who are less keen on that, you can resort to Armitage as your other resort. All right, db underscore status to confirm it, and as you can see, it says connection type. So that means it's working. So let's go ahead and close that. And now we want to be able to also be able to run Windows applications on Linux if the situation ever needs it. So the packages we're going to install, apt install wine play on Linux mono-complete. That should give you another list of packages to install. I can actually get rid of this right now because I don't need it. There we go. It will say, do you want to continue? And simply yes again. Now, while this is being set up, let's go ahead and download a file to test it out. So I'm going to open up my web browser. I'm going to do Firefox for this. And I'm going to install a tool called Loik. Loik is a DDoS tool, and it stands for Low Orbit Ion Cannon. It is downloaded from SourceForge. It is a .exe file, so it's a Windows executable, and we're going to experiment and see if this works on our Linux system. So I'm going to go to google.com. And what I'm going to go is search up Loik. So do LOIC, Loik, download. And I'm going to go to the SourceForge website, and I'm going to go ahead and download the file. Now it might say there's malware detected. Don't worry about it, because I will show you right here that it is not a harmful tool at all. So I'm going to download this right now. And it should say download at own risk. So click on the download word right here, and it should prompt you to save the file. And I'm gonna go click that, so save file, and click OK. Alright, so I'm gonna go to folder, and what I'm gonna do is extract this to my desktop. So I'm gonna click on the zip file, open it up. So while this is all working in the background, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and drag this .exe file to my desktop. Okay, and now we're gonna wait for this to complete. In the meantime, so it's gonna go ahead and do what it does, but I will be right back once this is done again. Because a lot of these package managers, they take a while to manage. So I'm gonna go ahead and it takes a while to manage depending on how big the packages are. So, like I said before, I'll be right back once this is finished. Yes, and look at this. So it's finished installing. Now, let's go ahead and test it out. So I'm going to run this .exe Windows executable file because this is built for Windows, but let's go to our desktop. So, actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and do ls. So, ls is to simply list the current directories that you can change to. So I'm going to go to my desktop where I extracted my file, do ls again, and your application should show up if this is where you have extracted your file. If you've extracted it to your downloads folder, then cd to downloads instead of the desktop. But do monolike.exe. And now you can see that the exe file runs without any problems, alright? Now this might not work for all Windows executables, but for some of them it should work, and perhaps you can use play on Linux if that doesn't work. So let's go ahead and open that up right now. It should show up if you've got it installed successfully. And now, this is another way to run Windows programs on your Linux system, but I will jump into that in a different video. Like I made a video a while back on how to run Windows programs using Wine and Play on Linux. If you want to refer to that real quick, it's on the description below. Go ahead and look at it if you want to, but let's go ahead and move on to our next and last few steps. I'm gonna go ahead and install UFW because that is a firewall. It will say UFW stands for uncomplicated firewall. So on Kali that is not installed on Kali, like pre-installed. So I'm gonna go install that right now. If you're on Ubuntu or Mint, this should be pre-installed already, so don't worry about it. So let's go ahead and do UFW status. Right now it obviously is inactive, but I'm gonna enable that. You can also configure this to like block out certain connections as well, but that is up to you, so I don't have to do anything in this video because that is up to you. Now the very last thing we need to do is download a tool called Airgeddon. So I'm gonna download Airgeddon right now from GitHub. Airgeddon is a tool that you can do is like evil twin like attacks, for example, and many other features. So you can like capture handshakes or kind of monitor or sniff connections. Don't worry about this because what we want Airgeddon to do is install some tools that like some dependencies that we might need in future like penetration testing scenarios. So we want that to be set up as well in addition to our everyday use. So I'm gonna go and copy this link right here. Let's go ahead and copy that into our terminal. So let's see, I'm gonna do it in my home folder. I actually want to do this not in our root account. So if I do pwd, I'm in my home folder. So I'm gonna do git clone, and I'm going to copy that link into my terminal. So it will say cloning into directory Airgeddon. Alright, so wait for that to finish downloading. Just another thing, this tool also works on it will actually show you which distributions it has been confirmed. This tool has been confirmed to work in. For Kali and Parrot OS, definitely. So wait for that to finish installing. Alright, here we go. So now if I have to list our folders, you can see Airgeddon is listed. So do cd Airgeddon now. And now do ls. And we want to run this script. So do sudo, because we need root permissions, sudo bash /airgeddon.sh. It will give you a script. Welcome to Airgeddon script. You will see a spaceship here. If that shows it is working. Alright, here we go. So it will say the known compatible distributions with the script. Now Ubuntu is listed, Mint is listed, and like I said earlier, Parrot OS is listed, even SUSE. I don't know about OpenSUSE, but I know SUSE is listed, and same with Red Hat. And obviously, it will also detect your system. So like I said before, it's detecting mine as Kali. So I'm gonna go enter. It might show you some packages that are missing. Like I said before, this is a reason why I want Airgeddon, because it will install all these automatically. So it will say now you need to install some essential tools. Simply click enter, and now this is the important part. It will ask you to automatically install, and you want to select yes for this. Now this step is mostly optional. If you're gonna use it for everyday use, you might not need to use these too often, but just to get that out of the way, let's go ahead and get that set up. So we'll say missing dependencies are packages are trying to be installed, please be patient. Alright folks, and here we go. So it now says dependencies were successfully installed. Script can continue. So I'm gonna go ahead and enter right now. So I'm gonna enter that. Oops, there we go. it will say the latest version, blah blah blah. Alright, and you don't have to worry about end, just Control C to exit the script, okay? And simply type in exit, and once you've got that down, you are pretty much set. So you've got all the missing packages installed, you've got Office Suite set up, so if you're doing any other work not related to ethical hacking or penetration testing, let's go ahead and again confirm that it's been there. So I already confirmed it earlier in the video, but yeah. So you got a LibreOffice writer, that's like the equivalent of Google Docs or Microsoft Word. Now, you might be wondering, why don't you just like download Ubuntu or Mint and just set up your Kali Linux hacking tools in those distributions? Well, first of all, I mean, like, I want to, if you're like in a cybersecurity class or whatever, you might need some tools that might not be pre-installed. So there is a tool you can use called Katulin. Let me go ahead and show that to you right now. I'm going to load up my web browser. Oh, actually my web browser's already here. Never mind. So I'm going to go load up my web browser, go to Google, and show you. So, Katulin download. This is if you're on like a Debian-based distribution, you can install all the Kali tools there. But this is risky for a couple reasons. Now, since the reason for that is Kali is built specifically for penetration testing. So it's not like those distributions where the packages may conflict when you set things up. And if you have a tool that you might need in your ethical hacking classes where you have to install it again, you have to load up your Katulin and just install it, and it can take a lot of time. So you definitely will want to start off like with all of these tools pre-installed, and then simply configure it for everyday use, and then work with what you have from there. So hopefully you've got it set up, and now Kali is able to be used as your everyday driver. Like I said before, this is specifically only for those kind of people who don't want to dual boot, or who don't want to set up a virtual machine and just want to work with their like literal physical hardware without having to do the extra mile to setting it up. But yeah, so that is simply how you set it up, and I will see you in my next Linux video. If you got any questions down below, feel free to comment down below as always, and I will get around to answering your questions. Raphael out, and I will see you soon.